really wonderful to have you with us on this session. Really grateful, for you to make the time. Um, so yeah, Susie, you're a family woman, right? You have
Yes, I
some
am.
children, from what I gather. So that's a kind of an interesting kind of different scenario there.
Yeah.
Um, tell us about yourself, Susie,
Sure.
please.
And thanks again for inviting me. I think this is a really fun opportunity to talk about women.
Yeah.
I have had a really interesting career path. I'm going to probably focus on the fact that I'm a career changer, a relatively new
Good.
one too. But my biggest
Yes.
pride and joy is really my two grown children who've had an impact on me in probably very typical ways for moms, I suppose. But
Mm.
I always say, and it's a very weird thing to say, but if I die today, I will have felt that I've done my job. So
Okay.
they're good.
Good.
But then
Excellent.
this career change is all about me, finally.
Yes.
But
Yes. Mm.
so I was raised in a split between New York's Hudson Valley
Mm-hmm.
and Miami Beach, and
Ah,
so I have a lot
okay.
of I think a lot of things that have made such an impression on me are from these two worlds on the East Coast that are very different.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but my career path is kind of what I really wanted to focus on, and I'm not
Sure.
sure that there's a typical career trajectory path, and I wouldn't necessarily advise my path for anyone. What I
Mm.
would advise is that you treat every job along the way with respect to build your reputation in whatever it is you're in. And I have
Yeah.
some lessons learned about that, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first,
Mm.
I wanted to kind of begin with college,
Right.
because I didn't really have a passion for anything in life. And when I went to
Okay.
college, I,
Right.
uh, I really didn't have anything going in, and
No.
so I did
Right.
something my father thought I'd be really good at, and I started to pursue a degree in architecture.
Uh-huh.
And he sadly passed away in my first year. And
Ah,
aside from
sorry to
really
hear
being
that.
sad about my dad, yeah,
Mm.
it was tough.
Difficult. Yeah.
But I also hated architecture.
Okay.
And so I knew that he wouldn't want me to be unhappy. So I added
Mm.
classes as quickly as possible and dropped all my architecture classes. And the fastest way to add classes was to go to the college right next to the one that was next to architecture. And that is
Mm.
how I ended up in advertising and communications.
Okay.
It's
Right.
not
That's very,
anything I've
very
ever
different too,
applied.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
somewhat, and also not necessarily the way you kind of go about creating a career. But
Yes.
I ended up liking it more, and so I thought I'd be happy, and I was.
Mm.
I worked my way around different facets of the advertising and communications industry for over a decade, and
Yes.
then shortly after my first child was born, I started really thinking about the world differently, and I felt some connection to the environment that really tugged at me, and I even looked into changing my career over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, being an environmental advocate was not very an affordable thing to do.
Mm.
And I really couldn't make it work and support my growing family. So I put my needs aside and continued to do what I was doing. And another decade really passed before I was diagnosed with cancer. And
Ah,
that
yeah.
kind of brought me back to the perspective about what's important in life.
Mm.
And
Mm.
actually, cancer was an incredible gift for me, because it really allowed me to make time for myself, which a lot of women
Right.
do not do because
Right.
they're very caught up in the responsibilities that
Family. Yes.
they feel and women tend to be more responsible for the home and for taking care of their family,
Mm.
and sometimes for holding a job and making sure that everything is stable. And so that was me. And while I was focusing on my treatment, I also started spending a little bit of time kind of inching into environmental advocacy by doing volunteer work within my community. And when a call for community member participation came in to write a climate action plan, of by the way, I knew nothing about it other than I wanted to be part of this community and I wanted to
Mm.
make a bigger impact.
Mhm.
Um, that was really the beginning of a long career in volunteering and doing pro bono work using the business skills I developed over the years in the business world. So I began to expand my network of people that were doing things I admired. And then 2 years ago, I finally threw the towel in and went back to school for a master's degree, which I completed just this summer in climate science and policy.
Wow,
So
congratulations.
yeah, it's been a long haul, but
Yeah.
I am really excited for the future. But the piece of advice, and I know we'll have time to talk about this, just because I don't want people to go, oh my God, what's she talking about? She's like, don't do this. But what I would really love to share with people is that be patient if you haven't figured out what your passion is, and while you're at it, make the work that you do meaningful by doing the best that you can at the job you're
Yeah.
in, so you can be
Yeah.
relied on and trusted, and you can build that brand of yourself with that can-do attitude. So it's something you could be proud of every day.
Right. Awesome. That's a very, very interesting perspective there, Susie. Thank you for sharing that.